All right, so today we're going to be looking at something pretty different. We're diving into Ecoscopia, and this is a place where astrology and finance meet.
Yeah, and I actually think it's really interesting how they don't just use astrological charts.
Right.
They actually try and combine it with observations of nature and cultural trends to try and forecast what financial markets are going to do.
Yeah, and they even have these things called live charts. So it's like real-time astrological forecasts for like Bitcoin,
Wow.
the S&P 500, gold, oil, even other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum XRP, and the founder Osher claims that it's 80% accurate. Like these charts have an 80% accuracy rate.
Oh, wow.
Um, I'm a little skeptical, but also at the same time, I've got to admit that is a pretty bold claim.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I mean, it makes you wonder how they're measuring that accuracy
All right.
and what data they're using.
Yeah, for sure. But I think before we jump into like this accuracy debate,
Hmm.
we need to understand like what are these live charts?
Yeah, have you actually looked at them on the Ecoscopia website?
I have.
Okay, so
I think
yeah, like what are they?
they're basically visual representations of like their astrological forecasts.
Yeah, so like let's say I was interested in Bitcoin.
Okay.
I could look at the Bitcoin live chart and then see like, okay, based on this person's analysis, like when are the astrological influences positive or negative?
Right, exactly. And think about it like if you took like astrological interpretations and you put it on top of like a traditional financial chart,
Oh, interesting.
it's not really about figuring out like the exact price targets, but more about like identifying potential periods of like, okay, this is when the price is going to be strong or this is when the price is going to be weak.
So it's more about like timing than
Yeah,
like the specific price.
exactly. And that's where I think their other offering is really interesting. It's called the Wealth Timing Calendar.
Yeah, tell me more about that.
So it's basically a personalized astrological calendar
Interesting.
that focuses on like, your financial decisions.
Mm.
So you can like, put in like when you were born and then it'll highlight like these potentially good dates or bad dates for like investing or signing contracts or even starting a new business venture.
So it's like having like a cosmic financial advisor.
Right.
It's like, okay, Jupiter's looking good today. Let's make an investment.
You could say that, yeah, it's based on the idea that certain astrological transits could be better for certain activities, and the calendar basically maps that out for you.
Yeah, I'm picturing someone's like checking their wealth timing calendar before they buy a stock.
Right. And they're like, okay.
This is a good day.
Yeah, exactly. But remember, they do emphasize that it's like a blended forecasting method.
Right,
So they're not just looking at your birth chart or like the current positions of the planets.
right. They also incorporate those nature observations and cultural trends.
Mhm.
So how does that all fit in, especially with these live charts and the wealth timing calendar?
Well, that's where it gets really unique, I think. By looking at nature, by observing patterns in nature, like, how animals migrate or weather cycles,
Mm-hmm.
you can actually start to understand like these broader economic cycles as well.
So they might see a connection between like a really harsh winter
Yeah,
and then like some kind of downturn
exactly.
in like the commodities market or...
Yeah, or they could look at like cultural trends, like, how consumer behavior is shifting or like
Yeah.
new technologies coming out, and consider how that might influence like certain assets. Like, is this good for oil or is this bad for oil?
It's almost like they like weaving all this information together, like the astrology nature culture, to try and get this like big picture of like what's going on in the markets.
Yeah, it's about like understanding that everything's connected and that like seemingly unrelated events might actually be part of this bigger pattern.
So like with the live charts and this wealth timing calendar,
Mm-hmm.
are they just like applying this like multi-layered analysis so people can make better financial decisions?
Yeah, that's the idea. The live charts give you like those real-time astrological insights for like specific assets.
Okay.
And then the wealth timing calendar like personalizes those insights based on like when you were born.
Okay, so let's get practical here.
Mm.
How would someone actually use these things? So like, let's say I'm looking at the Bitcoin live chart
Yeah.
and I see like a period where the astrological influences are like really positive.
Right.
Should I just like go all in on Bitcoin right then?
Well, not necessarily. Remember, no forecasting method is perfect.
Right.
This is more about giving you additional information. You shouldn't just rely on this.
It's like another tool in the tool belt.
Exactly. You wouldn't just use like technical analysis or fundamental analysis to make like investment decisions. You'd want to consider a lot of things.
And so for someone who is like open to these alternative approaches,
Yeah.
these live charts and the wealth timing calendar could give them a really new perspective.
Absolutely. It could help you see opportunities or risks that you might have missed.
I can see how this would be really interesting for someone who's already into astrology. But what about those who are like totally new to it or maybe even skeptical?
Yeah, I mean, astrology is not for everyone,
Right.
but I still think even for people who are skeptical, there's value in thinking about these different perspectives.
It's like challenging our assumptions about like what actually affects the markets.
Yeah.
Like we're so used to focusing on like economic indicators and the
Yeah.
news headlines. But what if there's other stuff going on that we're just not even considering?
Exactly. And that's what I find so interesting about this whole approach. Like they're not saying astrology is the answer to like all your money problems.
Right.
They're just offering like a different lens to look through
Yeah.
when you're looking at the markets.
And who knows, maybe by like looking at things from like a cosmic perspective,
Yeah.
we can make better financial decisions.
It's definitely an interesting possibility, right? The financial world is full of like uncertainty. And if there's any tool that can help us like navigate that with more clarity and confidence, like why not try it?
Yeah, I think that's a great takeaway. Whether you're like a seasoned investor or just starting out, it's always good to learn more
Right.
and consider these different perspectives.
Yeah.
And if you're curious about this like astrology and finance thing,
Yeah,
I would definitely recommend checking out the Ecoscopia website.
for sure.
Look at the live charts, see how they work, maybe even try out the wealth timing calendar.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly. They have a unique way of like forecasting the markets. You know, they mix like ancient wisdom with modern analysis. And who knows, maybe the stars have more to tell you about your money than you think.
I think what's really cool about this is it makes us think about timing in a different way.
Yeah.
Like we usually just react to whatever's happening in the market,
Mm-hmm.
but these tools are saying like, hey, maybe we can be more proactive,
Yeah.
align our decisions with these bigger cycles.
Right. Like tune into a rhythm that's already there, but we're just not paying attention to it.
That's a great way to put it.
And maybe by like understanding that rhythm, we can make choices that are more in sync with like, the energy of the market.
Yeah, it's not about like knowing exactly what's going to happen,
Right.
but just like recognizing that there are these patterns that influence us.
Yeah. And our finances too.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So to our listener, if you're interested in like adding a little cosmic wisdom to your financial life,
Yeah.
definitely check out the Ecoscopia website.
Yeah.
Take a look at the live charts,
Mhm.
see how they work. Maybe play around with that wealth timing calendar.
Yeah. You might be surprised.
Who knows?
Right.
And even if you're not like ready to jump into financial astrology,
Yeah.
I think this whole deep dive shows how important it is to keep an open mind.
For sure.
Look at things from different angles.
Yeah. The financial world is always changing, right?
Mm-hmm.
What worked in the past might not work now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So never stop learning, never stop exploring, and don't be afraid to challenge those assumptions.
Yeah.
You might find out that the stars have a lot more to say about your money than you ever thought.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, that's going to wrap up this deep dive. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.